Good morning, traders. Today is Wednesday, January 4th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, well, let's dig into the charts and see what to expect from today. Well, first and foremost, yesterday, let's start with yesterday. Okay, what took place? Well, the market opened up here near a balance area high. The reason that we consider that area a balance area high, I don't have an exact level for you, but it would be somewhere right around where you see this line right here. Okay, that's the balance area high. We know that because whenever the market tried to get beyond that level, it got smacked back down the opposite direction again and again. Every time it tried to get above that level and it couldn't stay above there, it got smacked back down to the opposite end. So yesterday, first thing in the morning, what the market did was it tried to break out of this balance. It tried to break out of this range, but it failed to do so. And so when it pulled back in, particularly when they tested the support at yesterday's high and they didn't have it, that increased the odds that we needed to head to the opposite end of balance like we did every other time we failed to break out above and came back in. But we did it. That's what we did yesterday. We came to the opposite end and we tested it down here. So now what's happened is we've turned around and we've begun the process of heading back up in the opposite direction. However, things get a little tricky in the fact that we're now right smack dab in the middle of a balance area once again. So pretty much this morning, the first order of business is going to be chop. It's going to be the market grinding up and down. And it's going to be hard to kind of pick, is it heading up to the upper end of balance or is it going to fail and pull back down, inside the chop zone? So the overnight range for me is the main focus this morning. It looks like we got a weak high. Okay, so we have not yet tested the overnight high or the overnight low. So inside this range, I will be watching support and resistance levels. So you got support right here. We can see with the angle on the TPOs that the market ran out of momentum. It ran out of sellers down there. We can also see the large volume node that was right there. This is around 3840. And then we also can recognize that just a few days beforehand, this was a point of control. This is where the market spent the most time and brought in the most volume. So that means market participants are very comfortable doing business there. And so when the overnight came down into that area, they found support. So I will be looking for support in here as one potential area. The next area I'm watching is pretty much the area that we're testing right now, right here at about 3857. This is this large node of support on the cumulative. And then it was also basically where the halfback from yesterday's range was. So to me, that's a very important level where, once again, traders should feel comfortable doing business. So if there's going to be support, that's a good area to find it. Okay. As far as resistance is concerned, the overnight high is the first potential resistance. So the way that would play out is what we would call a look above and fail. The market would poke up there and then find out there's no new business up there and pull back in. So I'm looking for support here. I'm looking for support here. If we can get above the overnight high and we can find new buyers up there, I will trust that we are heading up towards the opposite end of balance, which would pretty much just be, up towards the overnight highs from yesterday. But if we can't find support here, there's no guess. It's just more chop. Chop, 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 chop. Until we then either get down here and break the overnight low. Sorry, I'm just waking up. I hope I didn't explain that too confusingly. So essentially, I think the market is doomed to just go up and down for a while here, like probably hours and hours. But if it's going to break one way or another, it'll either be get above the overnight high and then head up to test yesterday's high, or get below the overnight low. And the only signal that we'll have while it's in between those two is the support. Does it hold? All right, so here we go. Moment of truth. If we find support at the overnight high, right where we are now, 38.70, we can look for continuation to the upside. If we do not, chop, more chop. So we're then looking for support at halfback and then down here at that level I pointed to earlier. Okay. So if they get support at the overnight high, bullish. If not, chop. Also, the A period high is weak because it's all sellers. All right, we got to look above and fail of the overnight range, increasing the odds of chop. So now we have to play the game we hate to play. Can they hold it? So we just have to watch one support after another. Can they hold it? All right, well, technically this is support at the overnight high, but it still feels like short covering to me. It doesn't quite feel like new buying. I'm very suspicious of the fact that the ticks are still above positive 1,000. So I think we need to pull back down and test the halfback before we'll really be ready to break higher. But it is a little bit bullish to see. Nick says, peep what Bookmap did. What did Bookmap do? Are you talking about this right here? Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, it looks like a lot, but that's pretty normal behavior. As the market is working its way down, they put in liquidity trying to continue to push it lower, like to scare the market lower. But as soon as it comes back up, they disappear it. They get rid of it because they're not really planning on taking those trades. It's just spoofing, you know. So that doesn't seem that unusual to me. All right, so let's once again test the overnight high and the halfback. Can they hold it? Second look above and fail of the overnight range, further increasing the odds of chop suey this morning. So once again, next support 38.56. Can they hold it? Hello, Chop Zone, my old friend. You've come to bore me to death again. Cannot pick which way you want to go. Up and down for no reason at all. Just taking out the stops on the downside and then the up. Waiting for the jobs report. And barbecue. It'll be 7 hours of less singing in February. Yeah, that could be seen as a pro or a con, depending on which side of the issue you're on. All right, so now does halfback, this little area right here, not this exact level, but this little node right around the opening price, does that become resistance? That's what we're always looking for with chop. If they're going to take the market higher, they will often turn halfback into support first before they do it. Or if they're going to take the market lower, they will turn it into resistance first. If they just pass right back through, then it's just more chop. So we are looking for some resistance. Do we get some kind of signal? All right, so that resistance at halfback slightly increases the odds that they'll try to take the market lower here. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're just going to find support and keep chopping. But if they do want to take the market lower, that was the first signal that they found resistance there. Second signal, actually. Look above and fail of the overnight range and resistance at the halfback. RK says, shucks, a solid trader could have made their day and be done with those 3 rotations. Yes, sir. And there are traders that do. There are traders that all they do is trade chop in the first hour. They know how to recognize. I mean, it's basically anytime you don't have a gap. You know what I mean? It's like if there was no gap, it's probably going to chop. And you have the signals to look for. So if you want to take those kind of scalpy, very quick trades where you don't really have any probabilities in your favor, it's a guess. You know, it's a gamble. If you like to take those type of trades, there is definitely opportunity in a chop zone. That's for sure. But for what it's worth, me personally, even though I'm great at recognizing chop, and I often know when it's going to happen, I have just found it's not worth struggling for those, couple of points here and there. I like to just kick back, relax, and wait and see what direction the chop breaks. The bigger move is the more desirable opportunity. But that's what's cool about trading. To each their own. RK says, you got to be fueling in the zone like a Blue Angel pilot, then eject. That's exactly right. You got to be very quick. MBBQ, you can often be right on the direction early on, but how wide are your stops? That's the problem. Well, that's why you try to find entries that have the minimum risk to reward. So let's say, for example, I'm looking at this as a balance area, right? I assume this is a balance area high up here. This is a balance area low down here. So I think the market is going to keep going between the two, right? So my first thought process this morning will be likely the market's heading up to test the upper end, right? So now let's say I see the market push above the overnight high and it finds support. Now it did do that this morning, but as I said, the ticks were way overbought, and so I didn't trust it. But let's say the ticks hadn't have been overbought. Let's say it really was bringing in new buyers up here. I could get long right here with a very tight stop. The trade is to stay above the overnight high. That is all the trade is. The trade is merely getting me long to stay above the overnight high. Okay? Now, I can choose to put my take profit at whatever level I believe is, a safe level to take profits up here. Right? So I get long, very tight stop, and I'm targeting a take profit up in here somewhere. Or I can do something called monitoring for continuation higher, which is that I get into the trade with the tight stop, okay, when I'm seeing that support. And then when the market starts working its way higher, I don't take profits. I instead just watch the market. When it gets to these levels, if it seems like it's going to keep going, I just stay in the long trade, right? So then the market keeps going. Well, all of a sudden I get above the previous day's high. Now I'm looking to test the overnight high. So boom, we get there. Well, now there's a bunch of stops up here, right? People who've been shorting and using that as the level. So I get another huge spike. Boom, I'm all the way up here. Well, now all of a sudden I'm in the trade for the breakout of balance, right? When you break out of a balance area, you often head at least the same range of the balance area. So you're likely looking at heading up, somewhere like this. So boom, now all of a sudden I'm in this trade to get all the way up here to the opposite end of balance. And my risk was this tiny little bit, a couple of points of risk that I took. So how is that possible? How is it possible that I can make all this reward and only have to take this little tiny bit of risk? Well, it's patience, right? I use my discretion. as I did this morning. I saw the market push above that overnight high, and I did not take the trade because the ticks told me the market was overbought and it needed to pull back. So by waiting like a sniper, by not falling for the chop, by not trying to catch every little possible move in here, but by being disciplined and waiting until I am absolutely certain that I am getting in at that perfect location once the market is ready to go higher, because I wait for that, I can take very little risk with very large potential reward. But it's impossible if I'm trying to catch every potential breakout. Oh my God, we got support. It could go. I'm getting long. Oh my God, we failed. Look above and fail. I got to get short. Oh my God, I got to get long. I got to get short. If I'm playing that game, I will miss this game. I will miss the beautiful entry with very little risk once all the signals are in favor. That's the opportunity I look for. I'm a sniper, and that's what I'm hunting for, is that opportunity when all the stars align and you can just catch the move and then monitor for continuation. All right, that must be the jobs numbers and the CPI coming out. Let's see what they got for us. So obviously, Bookmap giving us this beautiful moment of clarity where it lets us know before the market has an actual conniption fit that something's about to go down, right? They disappear, all those bots, all those algorithms that are just day trading to take your stops on either side of the market. They disappear to free up the liquidity for the news bots that come in. And these bots are designed to make these very large, elaborate moves. These are happening not just in the ES, but in all the underlying stocks as well. And so these bots do their thing to basically guess how the market is going to react to the news. And in all of this chop, they are positioning themselves for what they think is going to happen. And then what we'll start to see is liquidity come back in the books. We'll start to see these colors, these darker yellow and red colors, they'll start to pop up in here and they'll start to bracket around price. We'll start to see more and more volume building up above and below price. Only then, once that volume comes back in like this, can we really trust whatever the market does after that point. In between then and now, while the liquidity is so thin and it's so dark, we want to just let the bots do their thing because it would be gambling to guess where they're going to take the market. Okay, so we're now once again above the overnight high. That is bullish. Can they hold it? No, sir. The chop continues. Okay. So now we're starting to get that color coming back into the books. You see this? The liquidity is starting to step back in. So now whatever direction they pick from here should be a little bit more reliable. Do we break the support and head lower, or can we get back up above the overnight high and look to go higher? The market has now had its time to digest whatever those numbers were. What are they going to do as a result? All right, I'm bearish. That is officially definitely a look above fail of the overnight range, increasing the odds that we're heading down to test the overnight low. I will be looking for support there. All right, so last chance for the buyers here. If they want to keep it in a chop zone, if they want to keep the market moving sideways, they need to step in and hold it up here. If we break that overnight low down at 38.37, we increase the odds of bringing in new sellers. So the buyers must defend lest they get squeezed. All right, test of the overnight low is bearish. So now we're looking for the same thing we were looking for at the overnight high before. Can they push below the overnight low and then turn it into resistance, bringing in new sellers there? That would obviously be bearish for continuation to the downside. Or if they come back up now and turn the half back into resistance, that would be bearish for continuation from there. So do we get resistance at the overnight low, or do we get another look below and fail the way we got to look above and fail? Mike says, why would the upper resistance not be around 38.56? The answer is it is. It's everywhere. That's the thing about a chop zone, right? All of this area in here is resistance. You got resistance, 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 resistance. There's a million different areas where the market could flip and reverse. So I just pick the ones that seem the most likely to me. You know, this area that we're testing right now seems like if they're going to hold the market down here, that's where they'll find the resistance. If not, the halfback at 38.58. But it could be anywhere in between those two. Archie says that Fed guy just said that hikes can come to an end. At least in the short term, market about to boom. Well, I will offer you a piece of advice, Archie. Before the market's going to boom, it's got to get above the halfback. So I would wait until I saw that before I made any sort of assumption. Food for thought. Invictus says, it looks like it wants to go lower, but it's not doing a very good job of it. I would agree. It's either trying to go lower and it's not doing a very good job of it, or it's trying to go sideways and it's not doing a very good job of it. We got some indecision here, but remember, when the market is in a chop zone and it looks below the overnight low and it fails and it comes back up, if it's going to go higher, it'll come right through that halfback. No problem. So far today, we haven't even been able to test it. We looked below that overnight low, we came up, and all we've gotten is resistance ever since. Just more sellers, more sellers, more sellers. just smacking the market down again and again and again. So there's certainly no reason to be bullish right now. But it could be looking to just go sideways. To take the market lower, to do a good job of it, they got to get back below that overnight low and bring in sellers down there, not up here. Patience will be required this morning. They are not going to make it easy. All right, so I remain bearish here as we print the C period, and I will continue to remain bearish, meaning I believe the highest probability is that the market wants to go lower as long as we remain below the halfback. The halfback is at 38.58. So as long as we are below there, I assume we're going to continue to go lower. That being said, I'm about as close to neutral as I can be and still be bearish, because this does feel very rotational and very choppy to me. So I will only really feel confident in my bearishness once we get below the overnight low and find new sellers down there. So once we get below 38 and we find new sellers there, in which case I am very bearish to head back down towards yesterday's lows. Okay. So if we find new sellers here at the overnight low, it increases the odds in my mind that we need to head back down towards yesterday's low. It's just a very, very tight balance area. I mean, well, what can you say? It just immediately pops right from one side to the other. Pop, 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 pop. And now it's immediately starting its way back. So more balance on the daily. I'm not going to do an FOMC stream today. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I do not believe that Powell is speaking. I think they're just dropping the minutes from the meeting. If that's all that's happening, I'm not going to do a live stream on the public channel. I'll just hang out with the brigade members. And what I would caution all of you to do is keep in mind that anything that happens with the market prior to 2 p.m. is its own thing. So right now, I believe the market is working its way back down towards the lower end of balance. But when 2 p.m. comes, everything's out the window. Okay, none of that matters. All that matters is however the market reacts to those minutes that come out at 2 p.m. And so you can expect, just like we had earlier this morning when that CPI came out, you can expect the book map to go dark. You can expect a lot of very fast volatility up and down. And if you're willing to sit back and wait and let the volatility play out, whichever direction it breaks from there will likely give us insights moving forward. Okay? With that, I bid you farewell. I'm heading on over to the private stream, and I will see you all here tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.